Okay, so you want to be able to concentrate better and focus better so you can study for, practice, and successfully pass your licensing exam. I have a fictional story that will help you understand how to do just that in at least one way. Imagine that one day you are struck by lightning, and like any good superhero story, it transforms you. Okay, not really transforms you, but it transports you to an alternate universe. And in this alternate universe, your boyfriend or husband has been captured and kidnapped by narco-terrorists. One day you get a text message from them saying you need to deliver $1 million cash to this address in 15 minutes. Now, as it turns out, because you're used to traveling to alternate universes and stuff, you actually have $1 million cash sitting in your luggage. So you grab your luggage, you run out to your Beamer, you throw it in the trunk, you slam the throttle to the ground, and you're off to try and save your boyfriend. About 5 minutes into your roaring drive through the twists and turns, some of them you can't even see around the corners, going at 100 miles an hour every so often, you get another text message. This text message shows a picture of your boyfriend with a large noose around his neck and the words under it saying 12 minutes left. And you're like, no, no! The fastest I've ever driven this has been 20 minutes. They've only given me 15 and now they're saying 12. I don't know if I can make it. Your body tenses up, you start breathing heavy, you're sweating even more than you were before, and you're trying to drive faster and faster and faster. 3 minutes later, you get another text, and this one says, rope or burning tire. And you start imagining all the videos, the pictures you've seen of what these people do to them, hanging from trees, burning them with the tires tied to their body, and you just can't imagine this happening to your boyfriend, so you try and push the car faster, but you're getting more and more nervous. And next thing you know, the phone buzzes again and there's another text message. This time it's a picture, the picture of a hand holding up a bloody cut off ear. And it simply says, 8 minutes left. And now you start to panic. You're driving as fast as you possibly can. You just can't imagine what's going to happen next. You're holding your phone in one hand and you're trying to drive as fast as you could. You're trying to concentrate on the road, but you're just waiting for that next text message. And you keep holding your phone, looking at the roadway, looking at your phone, and worrying, is the next text message going to be it? Are they just going to be holding his head in their hands? And you'll be too late. Now I have a question for you. How's your driving? With all these text messages coming in warning you of imminent deadly danger to somebody you deeply love, are you going to be able to make it there even in the 20 minutes, which is your record time already? Or are you going to run off the road? Are you going to get into an accident? Are you going to spend so much of your time looking back and forth between your cell phone and the roadway and the cell phone and the roadway that you actually miss a turn and you end up in the wrong location? I would suggest to you that in some ways that's exactly what your brain's doing to you when you're trying to study for your licensing exam and you have a lot of anxiety around your licensing exam. Your brain is basically sending you these little text messages saying, hurry up, you're in danger, run fast, you're going to die. And of course, each one of those messages breaks your concentration. Now, of course, the important question is there a way to be able to get your brain to shut off those text messages? Well, I would suggest to you that there is, in fact, a way to make that happen. Carol Dweck has identified two different mindsets that relate to our own belief about intelligence and/or our abilities or capabilities. She calls them growth and fixed. Now, you might be asking yourself, what do mindsets about intelligence and beliefs about have anything to do with my concentration? Well, just give me a second. I'll be able to share that with you. Think about it like this. Your beliefs about your intelligence, or the way intelligence works, also are beliefs about yourself. And those beliefs about yourself affect how you perceive your own value, your own worth, your own capability, your own value as a human being. If you happen to have a growth mindset, then things you encounter in life you see as opportunities to learn. Your exam is actually the same way. whether you succeed in your exam or whether you fail, if you believe that your intelligence is something that can change over time, that you can build up and expand through deliberate practice and learning, then even if you fail your exam, your brain can still look at it as, oh, this is an opportunity to learn. It's almost like being on a reconnaissance mission where you get to go in and see what the enemy's doing, learn about them, and then learn how to be able to defeat them in the future. So taking your licensing exam, and even if you fail, you are able to learn something from it so that you can then come back and be successful in the future. That is all part of the growth mindset. On the other hand, if you have a fixed mindset about your intelligence, you basically believe that I'm born being smart or dumb or somewhere in the middle, but there isn't a lot you can really do to change it, then really an exam is nothing more than a big red stamp. You either somehow survived and passed, or it marks you as a failure. And worse yet, you have no ability to change it. It's a final, permanent statement about your capabilities and, by extension, your value and worth. Whether you're going to be a difference maker or some useless being who just can't keep up with everyone else and really doesn't have a place in the professional world. If you have a growth mindset and you encounter your licensing exam, you fully expect to pass it. It's not as big a deal whether you pass it this time or next time, or even the time after that, because either way, you know you have this internal confidence that you can learn. And because you can learn, it's inevitable that at some point you will learn enough to pass. On the other hand, if you tend to have a fixed mindset, then the first time you fail feels like a permanent, unchangeable statement of your worthlessness, your dumbness, the fact that you're incapable and never will be capable. And that is a reason why your brain would be sending you all kinds of emergency text messages. This is dangerous. Get out while you still can. We don't want to believe that we're dumb and stupid and we're never going to be able to succeed. That's horrible. That's terrifying. That's deadly. And your brain is going to do whatever it can to try and protect you from feeling that bad. And so it will continually send those little text messages to you while you're studying, while you're doing practice exams, and even when you're doing the actual exam, all of which will interfere with your concentration and focus. So the next step is relatively obvious. Examine your own beliefs about intelligence. Do they make every test or challenge a huge threat? And of course then trigger your brain's attempt to save you by giving you little text message reminders, oh my goodness, you're in danger, watch out for this, watch out for that. Or do your beliefs about intelligence, your ability to learn over time, support you in having a confident belief that no matter what the results of this particular test are, you can eventually learn and conquer this exam? Now, as you contemplate which version of these beliefs you hold for yourself, let me share with you a little bit of information that might kind of give you evidence as to which one might actually be the truth. Not just about other people, but about you. So for myself personally, I actually had to take my second licensing exam twice. I failed it the first time, and yet I eventually passed. And now I've been able to move on in my career and end up in a supervisory position. So my failure, while it certainly was uncomfortable, it was frightening, it was absolutely not terminal. I was able to eventually learn enough to pass and be able to move forward in my profession. So it really wasn't this stamp of, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're never going to succeed, even though it kind of feels like it sometimes. My wife is also a great example of that. She is currently a registered nurse, but you see, she grew up in the Philippines with a limited amount of English, and when she came over here, she had just a little over a high school education. So basically, she went to school here, got her GED, went through junior college, and was then able to get into a nursing program. However, after the first semester, right at the end of the semester, she missed it by 3 points and ultimately failed out of the nursing program. Now, because she was also applied for a psychiatric technician program. It's a little bit like a licensed practical nurse or a licensed vocational nurse. She was able to sort of switch programs and jump into that program. She got straight A's, passed that, and then ended up working as a psych tech for about a year and a half. Then she had the opportunity to join a second RN program. This time she decided to go for it, and she passed 1, 2, 3, all 4 semesters and graduated. Now she ended up taking all the questions available on her NCLEX, but she passed. And now she's moving forward in her career as a registered nurse. You see, that failure, even failing out of school, was not a terminal event. It just was not her time. She hadn't learned enough yet to be ready to pass that. And by moving forward at a lower level and then being able to work and get some experience in the medical field, she was then able to come back and pass the first semester and ultimately pass her licensing exam and be able to enter the profession as a nurse. Now you might be thinking, okay, who's Stephen Berg, who's Shirley? These aren't famous people. Does it really count? Well, let me give you a little more evidence. What about Amy Cuddy? Now she may not be super famous, but she's pretty amazing. This woman suffered a car accident, I believe it was at age 19. She had major head trauma. It reduced her intelligence level, and she was able to come back from that head trauma, and she's now a professor at Harvard University. Michael Jordan. Now it's become somewhat common knowledge that, strangely enough, as amazing as Michael Jordan is, he actually was cut from his high school basketball team. Failure? Yes. Terminal? No. He worked hard, he put in the effort and the time to learn how to do a great job, and now he's Michael Jordan. Pretty much everybody knows him as one of the greatest basketball players that's ever lived. And then there's Steve Jobs, and I'm sure you must have heard of him. He was one of the co-founders of Apple Corporation. And while he's no longer with us, Steve Jobs was intelligent, he was brilliant, he was hardworking, but this guy just didn't understand how to deal with people. In fact, he was so toxic, so difficult to get along with, he ultimately was fired from the company he started. And yet, eventually he was able to work his way back into being rehired at Apple Corporation and turned it into one of the most successful companies of all time. And you know what? That is just the really minuscule level of examples. All you got to do is Google famous people who failed, and you will come across story after story after story of all these people that we know of as being super successful. And you'll hear and you will read or hear or watch about how they failed multiple times in multiple ways, and yet eventually they succeeded. I would suggest to you that even you yourself have evidence of your capability of learning. At this particular point in your career, you've already gone through high school, you've gotten some college, maybe a higher level of college, maybe not so much depending on your career path, but you have learned some special knowledge that's specific to your career. Now think about this for a minute. Imagine your friends and your family, and when you very first started your college education for your career, their understanding about your career, a nursing, a social worker, a doctor, whatever it is, and your level was probably just about the same. And when you guys would talk about it, you would talk about what you understood about it, they would talk about what they understood about it, and it was about the same. But where is that now? If you were to start talking to them right now about the stuff you know about nursing, about social work, about therapy, about being a doctor, whatever it is your profession is, would your friends even know what you're talking about if they weren't with you in the program? Would your family have any idea whether you're even speaking English? I know with my wife, even though I actually took some nursing classes early on in my life, by the time she got to the second or third semester, I really was having a very difficult time understanding what she was talking about. And I pointed that out to her one day when she was discouraged and she was feeling like she just couldn't learn enough. She wasn't sure if she could pass. And I think this was already in her third or fourth semester. I said, sweetheart, you're telling me about all these nephrons and all these other things, and I don't even know what you're talking about anymore. You have learned all that stuff. And if you can learn that, you can learn more stuff. You can learn enough so that you can pass this semester and you can pass your licensing exam. I believe the well-established science about brain plasticity clearly demonstrates, along with the innumerable people of both famous examples and personal examples and yourself, demonstrate conclusively exactly what I believe. God designed us with a brain with the capacity to learn, continue learning, and learn huge, vast amounts of information and new ways of thinking about things and new ways of doing things. You can learn enough to pass your licensing exam. And so what I suggest for you, grow your growth mindset, calm your brain, and increase your capacity to concentrate and focus. I wish you well on your exam and have a blessed day.